Hi there, welcome back to My Hot Kitchen. I'm Wendy, and I'm sharing with you another amazing feast that you can feed your sweetie for a romantic date night in. This feast features stuffed pork chops, balsamic glazed Brussels sprouts, homemade macaroni and cheese, and it all gets started with my take on a wilted spinach salad. The very first thing that you're going to want to do is get the pork chops ready. I'm going to marinate them a little bit first. So you're going to start by pouring a little white wine over them. And this is going to help to tenderize the meat and add a little flavor. Just a couple ounces should do the job. And then a little olive oil. This is going to help the marinade to sort of stick to the meat, you know? And then just a few drops of Worcestershire sauce to add that richness and fullness of flavor. And then stab it several times to tenderize it and create little pockets for the flavor to delve all the way down into the meat. Flip it over and repeat with the stabbing on the other side. At this point, you should have enough marinade in there that you won't need to add any more liquids to it. And I would suggest go ahead and doing this in the same dish that you'll be baking these in. That way you get the benefits of all the marinade baking right into the meat. And then keep it really simple, a little cracked pepper and salt, a very small amount of salt. And then flip it over and treat the other side with the same love. I like to keep the seasonings really simple on the outside of this because the stuffing is going to be so rich and flavorful. So keep the seasonings on the outside light and easy. And I'm just going to slide this guy in the fridge while I get the spinach salad started. So over here I'll be working on the spinach salad, and the first thing that I'm going to do is get the bacon frying. So I've got the bacon cut up into little strips already. And I'm putting in a nice hot pan here, and I'm actually going to take it to crispy. While I'm doing that, I'm going to render out all of the bacon fat, which will form the foundation for this delicious dressing. And the first couple minutes of cooking, I'm just going to go ahead and move it all around the pan, and then I will start to stretch it out and flatten it out so that it gets nice and crisp and even. Whew. Stretch it out. I want to make sure that the bacon has a nice even exposure to the heat for the best texture in my salad. There we go, spacing them out, giving them a little room to work with here. Yeah, that's a little hot, but it's fine. All right, just gonna let these turn crisp and golden and brown. Well, this bacon looks delicious, and boy, does it smell good. So I'm just going to slide it around the pan here and really finish off the crisping part. The more contact that it has with those gorgeous bacon fat oils, the better it is for the texture. Then I will go ahead and tilt the pan, scoop the bacon into one side and allow the fat to drain into the other. The objective here is to get as much of the bacon fat to drain to the bottom of the pan so that when I scoop off the bacon, I only get the minimal amount wasted on my little cloth here that I'll be draining it on to make sure it's nice and crispy. Wow, that smells really good. That's making me very hungry. Last little bits here. All right. And the next part is to saute the onions and the mushrooms right into the rendered bacon fat. Give a little toss here. Make sure they're all loved up. And then just a moment on the burner. I'm going to rotate the mushrooms so they all have a chance to brown on at least one side. And this will give an extra little layer of flavor by allowing the mushrooms to brown just a bit. Just leave it like that for about a minute or two. All right, well, these are looking nice and brown, nice little layer of flavor. I'm gonna go ahead and toss in the carrots here for just a moment. Let it flash. And then it's time to build the dressing. Now all the bacon fat's been absorbed, but all the flavor is still there. So I'm gonna go ahead and add an ounce of red wine vinegar and a little splash of balsamic, and about a tablespoon of brown sugar. And take it off the heat and stir it all to dissolve it. I'm gonna also add a little pinch of basil at this time and a little bit of black pepper. It's gonna bring out all the flavors. Probably won't need to add much salt to it because of all the salt in the bacon. All right, I'm gonna take this off the heat now and just let it cool off for a second. And then we'll get tossing the salad. Okay, it's time to toss in the dressing with the salad. And go ahead and pour the entire mix over the bed of baby spinach and croutons that I've built. And then I will toss them together. Now the heat from the dressing is going to wilt the spinach a little bit. That's exactly the result that you want to see. Just kind of softens it up, enhances the flavor, and makes it yummy. Then once you've coated the leaves with the dressing, go ahead and get it out of your salad bowl. Looks like some of mine already wants to leave the salad bowl. And put it in a couple of salad dishes. And remember that all the good stuff's probably going to be on the bottom of the salad. There's the yumminess that I'm looking for, right there on top. And then top it off with the little bits of bacon. Divide it evenly between yours and your sweeties. Some dried cranberries for that little hit of sweetness will help to bring out the flavor of the dressing. A couple scallions for garnish. And the last touch is an egg. Now I'm going to do something kind of fun here. I'm going to slice it one way with my little egg slicer here. And then I'm going to rotate it and slice it the other way, and I'll make fun little strips. Then just share those strips evenly between the two salads. Yummy! Doesn't that look pretty? These are ready.
Man, what smells so good in here?
Hot bacon dressing
Yay.
on a spinach salad.
Wow, that looks delicious.
I think you should have that one because it's the pretty one.
A couple of forks will be good.
Oh yeah, that'd be handy.
My dear.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Wow, that tastes really good.
Let's
go have a seat.
Okay. Well, that spinach salad was one heck of a way to start off this romantic feast. In the meantime, it's time to focus on the main event. Stuffing of the pork chops. So I have some shrimp meat right here and just a few croutons. I'm going to add these in for fun and texture and flavor. What I'm going to do is just kind of break these up a little bit with my knife, and my main objective is going to be to break down the croutons into nice little bite-sized pieces. You want to start with fully cooked shrimp meat for this. That way you don't have to worry about whether or not the shrimp meat is fully cooked. A little bit more. I'm going to call that good right there. And then the next step is to mix in the onions, the garlic, and a little dash of mayonnaise. So I've got about 2 tablespoons of minced up onions, 2 cloves of garlic, and about a tablespoon's worth of mayonnaise. I also have a ½ cup of smoked cheddar. It's called Dorset Red. It's from Ford Farms in England. It's a really nice, delicious way to tie in the stuffed pork chops with the macaroni and cheese. Just blend these together until you have a nice even consistency. Using kind of a folding motion to make sure all the mayonnaise and the cheese are spread out evenly. This is going to taste so good inside those pork chops. Go, and then scoot it off to the side. And now it's time to slice open the chops. So I'm going to rotate them one more time just to make sure they're all loved up with the marinade. And then place them on my cutting board. I will place my hand flat on top and curl my fingers up just to make sure they are out of the way. And with my sharp knife, I'm going to cut into the meat. And I'm just looking for a butterfly cut here, so I'm not going to cut all the way through. Just enough so there's a little hinge on the other side to hold them together. And then I'll repeat with the other one. Focusing. Keeping that knife nice and flat, drawing it through the meat. Beautiful. Now this next step is pretty much a no-brainer. Just take a big old handful of the goodness that you made, put it in the pork chop, close it up, squish it together, and then these babies are ready to go in the oven. So I'm going to bake these at about 350 degrees, and I'm estimating that they will take about 45 minutes to reach perfection. And now it's time to get the macaroni and cheese started. Now this is kind of involved, but really fun and really worth it. So I'm going to get about a cup of pasta going here. I'm using little rotini pastas into a pot of boiling water, which, by the way, for the best timing, you'll want to get started while you're preparing your pork chop. Now I'm heavily salting the water for the maximum flavor, and I'm also going to treat the water with a little olive oil. A little extra love in there. Helps keep it from sticking and helps to enhance the flavor. Give it a little stir, prevent it from sticking, and then it's on to the sauce. What you're going to make is a modified bechamel sauce. So I have a tablespoon of butter. I'm going to melt it in a little saucepan here. Swirling around the pan to melt it a little bit faster. Then add a tablespoon of flour. Making roux here. This is the base of the modified bechamel. Just want to stir these together until you see the lumps have dissolved. You want to cook it until the butter just starts to turn a little golden. All right, I am satisfied with how that looks. Now I need to take it off the heat for a moment, let it cool off before I whisk in the delicate milk. And to help it on its way of cooling off, I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 ounce of cooking sherry. And that makes it all fun. It takes on a really cool texture after you add the sherry to it. And then you can go ahead and put it back on the heat. I'm going to add in 2/3 cup of milk and some other fun things. I have about a teaspoon of mustard and about a tablespoon of sour cream. Those are both going in there. And then a couple little drops of Worcestershire sauce, and whisk it together. What you want to do is bring it back up to a boil and back it down to a simmer for just a few minutes. In the meantime, you'll also want to season it up with just a little bit of salt and pepper. Don't go crazy with the salt because the cheese is going to have a lot of salt in it too. Bring out all those yummy flavors of the mustard and the Worcestershire sauce, the sweetness of the milk, the yumminess of the roux. All right, have just about a minute here, and I'm going to go ahead and prepare the breadcrumbs. And to really make them special, I have a teaspoon of butter and a little dash of paprika, about a 1/4 teaspoon. I'm going to fold all these together. This is going to be the crumb topping. Makes it a little bit fancier than just regular old breadcrumbs. Mixing it until there's a nice even semi-clumpy texture to them. Beautiful. And now, pretty sure the pasta's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and drain it out into a colander that I have in my sink here. And I hit it with a little cool water to stop the cooking process. And then that pasta is going right back in this hot pan in preparation for tossing. Turn off the heat. Got my sauce simmering. It's just going to need a moment longer before it's ready to go. Time to check on the sauce. Give it a little taste. Wow, that is so good. That's gonna be a wonderful base for macaroni and cheese. It's ready. So now it's time for the fun part of mixing it all together. Pouring in all of the sauce and mixing in 1 cup of that cheese. And keep in mind that any smoked cheese would work really well with this meal, whether it's a cheddar or a Gouda or what have you. But the smoky flavor is gonna blend beautifully with the pork chops and create a really amazing romantic feast for your sweetie. Stirring those together until I see that the cheese is melted. Yum. Wow, that looks really good. That cheese is melted enough. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in my little casserole here. Macaroni and cheese for 2. Shake it out a little bit, level it out. Make sure the sauce and the pasta are evenly distributed. And then sprinkle on the breadcrumbs. Lovingly, thinking of your sweetie and your romantic date night feast. And then these are ready to go in the oven too. And these are gonna bake right alongside the pork chops. Can take a little bit less time, about 25 to 35 minutes. So it should work out perfect. With the pork chops and the macaroni and cheese in the oven, now it's time to turn the attention over to the balsamic glazed Brussels sprouts. I'm particularly excited about this dish because it's so yummy. And in making it, you actually make a little sauce that also goes really well with the pork chops. So it's a win-win. I just put a little olive oil in the pan and I'm swirling it around to make sure it's nice and heated. And then the next step is to add the onions and the garlic in. So I have onions here. I sliced 1 ring off and then I sliced it in half to get these pretty little half moon shapes. And a clove of garlic. Give this a little toss. Just till you start to smell the garlic release its aromatics, and then quickly add in the Brussels sprouts. Get them in on the action too. Toss and toss and toss. Salt and pepper comes in right now. A little salt, fresh ground pepper. Again, keeping the seasoning simple because the pork chop is such complexity of flavor. Tossing. Get back in there. Then I have a half cup of chicken stock that I'm going to add in here. And I'm using the chicken stock because it's going to sort of braise the Brussels sprouts and help them to cook nice and evenly. And as it reduces, it'll add a nice thickness to it. This is 1 ounce of balsamic vinegar. Just going to make sure everything's all mixed in there. Then over the top, a nice little sprinkling of herbs. Got a little thyme here, nice amount of basil, and just a little pinch of parsley. And then what I'm going to want to do is see this come up to a boil, and then put the lid on it, drop it down to a simmer. Should take about 20 minutes or so for those Brussels sprouts to become nice and tender. Let's take a little look at these delicious balsamic glazed Brussels sprouts. They are about halfway through the cooking process right now, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate them so that each side gets evenly doused with the balsamic-y chicken stock goodness. Wow, these smell really good. You can just smell the balsamic vinegar and the chicken stock working together to make a rich, beautiful sauce. It's going to be a real crowd pleaser for your sweetie. Then put the lid back on, let them finish off. It is time to get dinner out of the oven. I'm so excited. It smells so good, it's driving me crazy. Look at those. Don't those look amazing? Also amazing, the macaroni and cheese. You can really smell the smoky aroma that's being released by the cheese. It smells great. It's time to get these bad boys on a plate and to my sweetie. Need that because this is a hot pan. So I'm gonna gingerly pull one of these gorgeous chops out, place it on the plate. Wow, smells so good. Then the macaroni and cheese. Nice little loving scoop of that on this beautiful plate here. These look really good. I'll use another spoon here so that I can get the crumbs on top. Wow. What a nice romantic feast this is. And then the Brussels sprouts. Ooh, those look really good too. I'm really pleased with how this meal came out. Some pretty onions over the top. Drizzle of the balsamic glaze just to finish off the Brussels sprouts. These are ready. Way to go! You just cooked up an amazing romantic feast to feed your sweetie. Now pair this up with a smoky Chardonnay or a nice dry white wine like a Chenin Blanc. Call in your sweetie. Goodbye, apron. Hi.
Hi.
Yay.
Hey, you look wonderful.
Oh, hi. Knock a girl off her feet like that.
So what is this? This looks like jam.
Some pork chops, macaroni and cheese.
Oh, it's really good. Such a hot kitchen.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Have fun turning up the heat in your kitchen, and I'll see you next week. Night night.